problems about being tall. Do you hear that? Silence. The noise of an audience waiting in anticipation for some remarkable speech. Well, I don't have that. What I have tonight is an incomplete chapel talk, an insufficient attempt at getting a message across to you. When I decided to do a chapel talk, I had in mind a flawless, inspiring speech. But on the contrary, I have not been able to perfect it. That being said, I apologize in advance for not doing so. I am frequently asked the same few questions. Why are you always so happy and energetic? How are you always so busy? And most of all, how are you always smiling? I usually have one or two reactions. I'll either say, I don't know, or I'll just shrug and smile. The truth is, I do know, but I don't say that because the answer is very complicated. In my head, it seems very simple, but if you know me well, you'd know that what goes on in my head is a whole nother story. Perspective. That is the true key to my happiness. Many people believe that happiness comes from being successful, but they are mistaken. Happiness is a choice of what you want to be now, rather than a result of what has happened or what you have achieved in the past. Think about that. Happiness is not something you get in the future. It is something that you choose to be in the present. The only way to be happy is to look at life from a different perspective, a different angle. A lot of what I say tonight may be foreign to you, but I hope it challenges how you look at different aspects of your life. Imagine watching the Super Bowl on television, but the game was only being filmed with close-up shots. It would be hard, confusing to watch because you'd never see the whole play from afar. This is the perspective that many people look at their lives from. They rarely take a step back and look at their life from afar. Last year was the first time that I did this. I had finally gotten the opportunity that I was waiting for. I was away from my old school where the academic opportunities were not very strong, and ice hockey was so irrelevant that one time I told a girl that I play hockey. She told me that boys weren't allowed to play on our school's field hockey team. I was finally in a place where I could develop and make the most of my passions and explore new passions. But unfortunately, I spent the first 2/3 of my year at Millbrook letting life happen to me. Where did I go? Okay, there I am. Okay. I made no use of my free time. I barely cared that I was getting C's in some of my classes, and I just wasn't taking advantage of the things that I was beyond privileged to have. Shortly after spring break, I had pulled 2 all-nighters in a row, and it was then that I finally took a big step back, looked at life from a different perspective, and knew that I needed to change. At 4:30 a.m., I sat at my desk asking myself why I was up so late doing work that I had plenty of time to do prior to that night. I started pondering my life and really looking at the big picture. I was at a point where if I didn't change my work ethic immediately, I would end up not having the grades that I wanted, and this would close innumerable doors to my future. parched. For the last 3 months of school, I worked almost nonstop to fix this dilemma, but something still felt very wrong. Regardless, I continued to work in every minute of my free time during those 3 months because I was seeing dramatic improvement. My grades were steadily rising, and I finished the school year just barely with the grades that I was shooting for. With the school year completed and summer in the air, I finally had time to reconsider that feeling that something was wrong during those 3 months of focusing on my schoolwork. For the second time, but to a much greater extent, I took a huge step back and looked at my life. I locked myself in my room, put my past aside, and asked myself, what is my main goal in life? My initial reaction was, I want to play Division I college hockey, of course. But I thought about it again and realized I was looking way too closely at my life. I spent the next 2 weeks of my summer sitting at my desk in my room, brainstorming and considering my main goal in life. After countless attempts to broaden my mind and look at life from afar, I came up with a goal. I want to be the best person that I can possibly be, and to the best of my ability, I want to pursue the most well-rounded character that I can have. Along with this goal, I created a very protracted and detailed contract for myself, laying out how I will go about achieving this goal in the present and in the future. The most important sentence in my contract is this: to obtain a well-rounded personality, I must enrich and balance my character, my academics, and my life passion of ice hockey, knowing that the excellence of any of those qualities is useless without the equal excellence of the other two. And I must improve these qualities not only physically, but also mentally and emotionally. This introduces how it will be possible for me to accomplish my goal. But more importantly, it explains why I didn't feel right during those 3 months focusing purely on my academics. You may think that this endeavor is difficult, maybe even impossible, and it's a waste of time to try to fit these characteristics and look at life in these different ways. I did as well. But I realized that it is supposed to be hard. If being good at it was easy, then everyone would do it. Everyone would be on high honor roll in school. Everyone would be getting offers from colleges for scholarships, for their sport or other passion. And at that point, would it matter to be good at these things? Think about it. What's honorable about making high honor roll if everyone in the school makes it? Why would I even be giving this talk? Now, in my indigenous language, Kevish, I'm going to tell you a very interesting and thought-provoking story about the time that I met Bigfoot and the life-changing lessons that I learned from this experience. Hajak bagla, eblegi, fufa shabagla, wawa. Gaba gaba, za woo! Jabili gaba baga, za fufa, jabili ya fufa. Makes you really thirsty when you speak in that language. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking that I've lost my mind, and you might be asking, what was the point of that? Or how does that have anything to do with your chapel talk? Well, it doesn't. I told that story because I felt like it. It was really fun to do, I enjoyed myself, and as a result, I feel happier and in a better mood. So, when you ask what the point was, I say it doesn't have one because circles don't go Circles don't have points. Happiness. Okay, all right. Hello. Happiness and positivity go in a circle. If I'm happy and positive and smiling, then that spreads, making the people around me happy. Then, similarly to how global warming works, their happiness resonates to even more people, but at the same time, back to me. Happiness and positivity are extremely contagious. So why are people often so negative? I understand that it's easy to complain because there are a lot of half-empty cups in the world, and even I catch myself doing this. But there are just as many half-full cups out there. It's completely down to how I choose to look at it. For example, I could easily say, we live in a horrible world filled with war, debt, and hate. Or I can say, we live in a beautiful world filled with puppies and chocolate and Netflix. Both are true. It just comes down to how I choose to look at it. If I were to describe this predicament as a caveman, I would say, happy, good, unhappy, bad. So why choose to be unhappy? Now, before I conclude my talk, let's change our angle and reconsider what I said at the beginning of my talk from a different perspective. Should I really have apologized for having an imperfect chapel talk? I did my very best to construct a perfect chapel talk, and I ended up with this. The thing is, I'm happy with this, because this is a result of me doing my best to make that perfect chapel talk. This is the perspective that I suggest we all use to view our lives. I'm doing everything in my power to strive for the best future I can imagine. And in the end, all that matters is that I am happy about wherever I end up. So, do everything you can to shoot for the stars, and whether you get to them or not, you'll be sure to reach the moon. Thank you.